Joining me now in this Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is former New Yorker and former New York gubernatorial candidate and current EPA administrator Lee Zeldin with breaking news this morning on his plans of layoffs coming at the EPA. Lee Zeldin, great to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Maria.
I want to get your thoughts on New York in a moment and the pivot towards socialism. But first, give us the news in terms of potential layoffs at the EPA should this government not reopen this week.
Well, good morning, Marie. It's great to be with you. It was about 3 weeks ago where EPA had a 4,000 staff furlough kicked in, but now we're at the position where we're getting closer to this is the last pay period before a far more severe, drastic furlough is going to kick in at the EPA. We're going to see impacts for environmental protection across the board. The Office of Air and Radiation, we're talking Clean Air Act, we're talking about air pollution. They're going to be operating at less than 15%. The Office of Water, which is responsible for the Safe Drinking Water Act, will be operating at less than 40%. Big impacts to the Office of Land and Emergency Management. Think Superfund, Brownfield, Emergency Response. The Office of Enforcement and Compliance would be down over 70%. That is an enforcement and compliance of the environmental laws of this country. So I don't want to hear congressional Democrats in the future talking about how important it is to be dealing with Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, Safe Drinking Water Act, and these other laws, if right now they're talking about this environmental impact as leverage to be able to gain more power. We at the EPA want to be operating with the federal government that's open, employees at the office and getting paid. Unfortunately, we're at a crossroads moment where congressional Democrats are choosing to use this as leverage, and they're wrong.
How permanent are these cuts? When you're talking about a much larger furlough situation, are these permanent job cuts?
Well, we're going through a reorganization all year at EPA. We came in with an employee staff size of over 16,000. By the end of this year, we'll be at 12.5. We're cutting about a quarter of the agency size. They'll save about $750 million annually. And we want to be more efficient. We'll actually do more with less, fulfilling our statutory obligations, fulfilling presidential policy priorities. It's about priorities and focusing on the clear language of the law rather than pet partisan projects and ideological priorities. Instead, we're going to focus on what the plain language of statute says to fulfill our mission.
And, of course, President Trump has been focused on national security and ensuring that this country is not reliant on communist China. One of the issues is around energy, and that is one of the president's biggest priorities here. I just got back from the Permian Basin, and one of the big issues that was celebrated was the permitting easier, making permitting easier for companies. That's gone away in this last month because we do not have a government open to issue those permits. Here's the CEO of Chevron with me, as well as the CEO of Diamondback Energy, Kees Van Hoff and Mike Wirth. Watch this.
We're seeing red tape eliminated from the permitting process. We've seen executive orders that streamline the process of getting from an application through to a permit. The thing that would be really most important now is to see those codified in legislation that ensures that they're durable.
The American oil field worker is probably the most undervalued worker out there. You know, this is a true manufacturing business built in the United States.
Yeah, we were standing in front of that huge pile of sand because they used the sand to get the oil out through fracking. Lee, that's not happening right now. How severe has this been in terms of stopping progress and work?
Well, the good news at the EPA up until now is that we've been able to operate off of carryover funding through this shutdown. So a lot of our agency has still been at the workforce and to be able to get our job done. We've been getting permits at the Trump administration at Trump speed. The most durable solution, you heard that person you were interviewing with use the word durable. Long term, it's for there to be reform in statute where permits take less time, cost less money, and have have more certainty. With President Trump in office, we've seen announcements of trillions of dollars of new investment in the country. I've been traveling the country. I've been to 48 states so far, and I've been there for where groundbreaking has already happened of multi-billion-dollar projects from West Memphis, Arkansas, to Idaho Falls, Idaho, Cheyenne, Wyoming, and that list goes on. Trillions of dollars pouring into this country because President Trump was in office. So we're fulfilling that Trump mandate. The longer this shutdown goes on, though, and we have to furlough more employees, yes, we're going to start to see an impact across the board. And that's why this shutdown needs to end right now.
Yeah.
I know you have Senator Johnson on today's show who's been leading this fight. It's important for moderate Democrats, if they still exist, to have the courage and support Senator Johnson and his colleagues.
Well, we're going to talk with Ron Johnson momentarily, but real quick, speaking of the Democrats, what do you make of what's going on in New York? You ran for governor of New York. You've got Zohran Mamdani trying to take on President Trump right now. How do you think New York City changes?
Well, drastically, it's a sad moment where I feel bad for the New Yorkers who tried to stop it. I feel bad for the former New Yorkers who have fled, but I don't feel bad for those who voted for it and others who decide to stay on the sidelines. I mean, traditionally, we've had this battle between the right and left, Republicans and Democrats, conservatives and liberals, where, you know, Republicans advocate for lower taxes, Democrats advocate for higher taxes. Republicans advocate for closed borders. Democrats are putting forth policies for open borders. You know, conservatives say there are two genders. Democrats are saying that there's 100 genders and counting and growing. But what's happened right now is that the Democratic Party chose to nominate a guy who is a socialist, who is a communist, who has talked about defunding the police and will absolutely set New York City back. The Democrats chose to nominate a person for Attorney General in Virginia who is somebody who wants to shoot and kill political opponents. And, you know, if they say, well, we didn't know that when we nominated him, when they found out after they nominated him, they doubled down in continuing to support. So, you know, this is a moment where the Democratic Party, we used to say this isn't our grandparents' Democratic Party anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't even the Democratic Party of a few years ago. The far left is, you know, tail wagging the dog here, and it's taken over the Democratic Party, and it's harming all of America because of it.
Unbelievable. Well, we'll be watching that one, of course. Lee, it's good to see you. Thanks very much. We'll be waiting to hear your
Maria.
next move at the EPA. Lee Zeldin.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.